Well, it certainly does not qualify as a pretty face, but it does qualify as a face. Yea, perhaps even a very recognizable face if you travel in certain circles. And there it is, for the first time properly since the initiation of the project almost 5 years ago, on a physical medium. The latest release from TPOS, My Misadventures with G.G. Allen, written by Len Colby, edited by me, yours truly, Malcolm Tent, your weekly host here on Tent Talks Tunes. Always good to see and hear and be with all of yez, my frantic fans, my loyal listeners, my vivacious viewers. Every Wednesday, Lord willing and the creeks don't rise, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the universe's favorite social networking platform, Facebook. And also archived forever on my permanent record, my YouTube channel. Look me up. Subscribe to me on YouTube, 'cause I got a lot of stuff there. Not only every single episode of Tent Talks Tunes known to man, but also an exciting smorgasbord of exclusive interviews, live footage, some of my favorite videos of me, some really interesting playlists, at least one professional wrestling playlist. Oh yes, there's a lot of good stuff on my YouTube channel, so I invite you to check it out. I know you got good taste. I know you're equal to the task. I know it. I feel it. I can sense it. I know it's true. I know it. But of course, saying all that means nothing if I'm not actually going out live, so I have to reach over here, as is my habit, to click the mouse on my monitor and take a look at the desktop, which has the live feed going out. Oh, there it is. I am live. What do you know? Let's expand this view and let's enable the comments so I can see who is there. Alan Versapellis, Mr. James Pogo, saying, after flowers of interest, it's a bit boring. Brian Russell, my man Mike from Vancouver, BC, and a host of others whose names and faces are not revealed to me because I haven't seen your comments. But I know you're out there, and I'm glad you're out there. I heist my jug of hickory tap to you. Couldn't do it without you. Without you, I'm just a guy sitting in his living room talking to himself with one rather disinterested cat lurking around somewhere. I mean, the disinterested cat is lurking around somewhere. He hasn't made his presence known yet, but we shall see. We shall see. Anyway, it's out. It is out. I've been talking about this for the better part of 5 years. And anybody who knows me and my fabulous label, TPOS, knows that the wheels do turn slowly, but slowly they do turn. You know what I'm saying? Roy from Muskegon, Michigan, my main man from the Disappointments. Hello, Roy. Good to see you here. Roy is going to be getting some copies of this one. The product of those very slow-moving wheels. The Misadventures of G.G. Allen by Len Colby. This thing went through so many changes, so many permutations, so many aggravations, but it's out. Everything from endless rewrites to wrangling over photos to the death of the author himself, Len Colby. The poor guy shuffled off this mortal coil before he could actually see the finished product. But I'm not known to take no for an answer, unless, of course, no is the correct answer. In that case, I'll take it. But by gum, if I say I'm going to do something, I fully intend to do it. And so, against many odds, it is out. What I have here is a softcover edition. First printing of 500 copies. Each one of them hand-numbered by myself on the inner front page. Excuse me. They are available directly from me. They are available directly from eBay on my personal Facebook page. I've posted all kinds of links and propaganda about it. There are 2 different G.G. Allin fan pages on Facebook. I've posted on both of them. It's been a real hotbed of activity regarding this book. So if you want to find out how to do it, either talk to me, message me, check out the links on my page, on the GG page. They're all over the place. You can't miss it. The only hitch that we've still not dealt with is the Amazon editions of the book. As of right now, the Kindle is live. You can get My Misadventures with G.G. Allin. You can get it on Kindle. It's available in many, 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 many countries. The hardcover, there is a hardcover edition available through Amazon. That went live this morning, and that can be had in many, many, many different countries, including all of the principal European and Scandinavian countries, Japan, Canada, Mexico. I believe there's some South American countries. Brazil is one of them. It can be gotten. So if you're an international buyer, you don't want to get totally sliced and diced by the cost of international shipping, you can go onto Amazon and find this sucker and get either the Kindle or the hardcover. Softcover should be up soon. I've been going back and forth with the Amazon robot over the graphic design of the cover. They keep wanting me to shrink the text on the spine, and I keep shrinking it, and they want me to shrink it even more. And so every time that there's an adjustment to be made, I have to submit it, via a web form, and then it takes a minimum of 24 hours for the change to be analyzed and then either give them the thumbs up or the thumbs down, which is one reason why I love dealing with my real-life human being flesh and blood printers, Southbury Printing in Connecticut, because I can sit down with my main dog, Fred, at Southbury Printing, and we'll hash all those problems out in one sitting. One 1-hour session, and it's all done, or at least diagnosed. But whatever. If you want to go international, if you want to have that Amazon presence, you got to deal with the machines. So that's what I'm dealing with. So let's see here. We got some comments. James Pogo wants to know, what years does it document of life on the road with Gigi? The years covered in this book are 1987 to just about the beginning of 1993. So the last 6 years of Gigi's life. Not 1993 so much, but there's a lot of really cool stuff from 87 to 92. Len Colby was Gigi's roadie, his videographer, his merchandiser. He booked the tours, took tons of photographs, and luckily had an excellent memory. So his stories really never were told in full before, and they're all here. He got them all out. And he was just starting to send me photos when he died, but he sent me enough photos to use to make it a really good illustrated book, so I'm pretty happy about it. Let's see here. Now, the one problem I've got with tonight's episode of Tent Talks Tunes is that since I went live yesterday announcing this book, I've been getting messages like flakes in a blizzard, so they're probably going to be popping up while I try to talk to you guys. So if you see me reaching over and you hear a clicking, I'm going to be minimizing all these comments. Luckily, from people saying, hey, how can I get a book? So Joey Corman is mentioning the Danbury screw job. I was talking to Joey Corman about that. I told him I'm just like Shawn Michaels. I knew nothing about it. I was not a part of it. You saw the expression on my face when the hold was broken, and it reeked of sincerity, or at least very good coaching from the WWF's acting team. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, trust me, I hardly do myself, but Joey Corman does. So yeah, man, let's take a look at the bulletin board in the mailbox. We got the big part of the infomercial out of the way. I remembered this week to actually post something on the bulletin board regarding the most exciting event on the horizon coming up in the future. And as the great Criswell said, we are all interested in the future because that is where we must live, in the future. Well, the future has been narrowed down to September 19th and September 20th. The location has been pinpointed as the Ground Zero in Spartanburg, South Carolina. The event is Rulebreakers Ball 2025. Not one, but two exciting nights of primal knuckle-dragging, caveman, cavewoman, no frills, no nonsense, no BS, punk, rock and roll. Dan Lott just chimed in and says he cannot wait. But of course Dan Lott cannot wait. Dan Lott is part of the proceedings. Check it out. Taped Fist. A rare performance by Crap County's own Taped Fist is happening on Friday, September 19th. If you don't know Taped Fist, you're going to find out. What else have we got on the 19th? Future Hate. Yes. Good pals of Anti-Scene from Mobile, Alabama. Future Hate, featuring the talents of Dennis Highland, who sent me an awesome thrift shop in a box last week on Tent Talks Tunes, and his band Rocks. Taped Fist, Future Hate. KIF, aka Knowledge is for Fools, from Raleigh, North Carolina. They got the brains, they got the guts, they got the smarts, they got the chops, they got the look that you want to know better, and the sounds that have got it all together. Knowledge is for Fools. After that, a very rare appearance in the eastern half of the United States of America by Before I Hang. Just coincidentally, the shirt I'm wearing today. Before I Hang, the flagship of Anti-Scene guitar player Walt Wheat. And they've been doing their things for 30-odd years, and now they will be on stage in Spartanburg. And on top of the bill, you've got the hostile city ambassadors of pure misanthropic animosity. Dramatic pause. Rancid Vat. Yes, the return of Rancid Vat. They cannot be stopped by membership turnovers. They cannot be stopped by death. They simply cannot be stopped. Rancid Vat playing live night one of the Rulebreakers Ball in 2025. Hey, and there is Walt Wheat saying that it is their triumphant 20-year return to the East Coast. Yes, indeedy do. 20 years since those guys have trod the boards around these here parts. Not bad at all, not bad at all. Just for those of you who are in the know, for those of you who know the dynamics of Anti-Scene and myself and Walt Wheat, I can assure you that my performance the next night, which we'll get to in a second, will indeed be fueled exclusively by nuts, berries, twigs, bark, and handfuls of grass. And Walt Wheat's performance will be enhanced greatly by an industrial-sized bottle of Tums. And I will certainly enjoy my handful of gravel and scravel. And I'm sure Walt will savor every single delicious flavor of Tums that there is. And we're going to get the job done. That's what we call a pincher's movement. But I digress. That's Saturday, and we're on top. I just sort of gave the game away. Who else we got? We got the George Jonestown Massacre. I should say Josephus in the George Jonestown Massacre, headed by our good pal Joey Killingworth. He's our booking agent. He kicks butt. He takes names. And he will not take no for an answer. Under any circumstances, I don't think. We also got the Self-Made Monsters. Oh, yes, we love the Self-Made Monsters. Big personal favorites of pretty much everybody in Anti-Scene. A band that rocks, a band that rolls, a band that reels, a band that steals. There's no denying that they are Self-Made Monsters. Who else do we got? Well, we got the Wrath of Typhon from York, Pennsylvania. If you want to know the very definition of rock and roll, done heavier than God on a bad day, Wrath of Typhon. They will illustrate it for you most clearly. And of course, rounding out the night, we've got the Blue Ridge Death Cult, headed by our pal Zach Hembre. He's a man of many bands, and every single one of them gets the job done. And they're on the bill too. So there you go. Friday, Saturday, Rulebreakers Ball, Ground Zero, Spartanburg, South Carolina. Notice has been served. Let's drink to that. Conrad Young says, nice shirt. Well, I don't know if nice is exactly the word for it, but it is a shirt, and it is very effective. I wear this shirt out in public, and a lot of people are like, what is that? And I say, that is a band drawn by an 8-year-old girl. And I'd say she got did an uncanny job of capturing the individual personalities of the members of Before I Hang. And I have a feeling that Walt Wheat might have some of these shirts. Walt, if you got any and people want them, feel free to tell people where they can get them, so you can buy yourself some more Tums. Very important. And Walt Wheat, I think he clarified some brand name. Tums and Beech Nut. Yes, that stuff costs money. Before I Hang shirts can be used to fund the purchase of lots of Tums, lots of Beech Nut, and lots of America's Best. Because that's how the guitar section rolls in Anti-Scene. Oh yeah, it's true. All right, that's the bulletin board. Let's talk about mail. We got some really cool mail things going on here. Last week's episode of Tent Talks Tunes was devoted exclusively to the opening of the mail. Thanks again to my pal Dennis Highland. But I got a few things here. These have actually been sitting on my shelf for quite a while. Things have been 50 shades of cray-cray around here at TPOS HQ, a.k.a. TTT's Home 20. I've been so busy with the G.G. Allen book and with a lot of traveling that the mail went unanswered for a while. But we're going to rectify that right here, right now, before we get down to the meat of the matter, which is talking tunes. I have a few things here that people sent me. The first one I got yesterday, and I could not wait to open it. I just was not patient enough to leave this box sealed. I had to open it immediately, and I did. And I'm so glad I did, because I've been on a major Sun Ra bender since I took my most recent trip up to Danbury for the record show. I did some horse trading here and there at various record stores and picked up some Sun Ra titles. And I was at Red Scroll Records in Wallingford, Connecticut. Harry is coughing. Why are you coughing, son? Sounds like Harry's got a hairball or something. Might have to change his name to Hairball. Come on up here, son. Show the people you're all right. Here, little guy. Here comes my guy. We all knew Harry was going to show up at some point. What's up, dude? We all heard you coughing, man. You all right? You doing well, fella? All right, you're purring again, so that means you're probably doing okay. Here is Harry, the one-eared wonder, Mr. Fangface himself, the yellow-eyed monster, being somewhat coffee and a little bit mellow and limp. Perch yourself on my lap, Harry, while I talk about this awesome Sun Ra record I got at Red Scroll Records. The price tag on it was extremely hefty, so I didn't buy it. But when I got home, it occurred to me that I got a lot of records. So long, Harry. I got a lot of records, and maybe the guys at Red Scroll would like to trade me something. So I put forth the offer. They said, yeah, let's do some swapping. So I swapped them a few records, and lo and behold, in the mail did arrive an original Philadelphia Saturn release by the great Sun Ra, an album called Hiroshima. Came out in 1985. Released by Sun Ra himself. And if you can see the label details, the label is actually a photocopied piece of paper cut out by hand and glued to the record itself. That, my friends, is about as DIY as it gets. I'm a pretty DIY guy, but even I don't have the patience to do that. So this is really cool. Original Philadelphia Saturn. The other side, in typical cryptic, mysterious Sun Ra fashion, is blank. And the vinyl is just about mint, and I played it the other day and it sounded really cool. Yeah, the Sun Ra fixation doth grow. So thank you, Rick and Josh and Karen at Red Scroll, for helping to enable me with my sweet Sun Ra sickness. And they also threw in a couple of empty sleeves. I don't know where they got these, but check it out. Empty sleeves for the Anti-Scene Rancid Vat Split single that came out back in 1991, I think. Maybe even 92. They know me. They know me very well. Not for sale. It's personal collection. Strictly personal collection. Now let's take a look at a couple of other things that arrived in the mail that have been sitting here patiently awaiting opening while I've been off gallivanting all over the ding-dong-dang-damn place. Well, here's a mysterious orange envelope, but you know, it's not really mysterious if you understand the significance of the color orange to certain guiding lights of the almighty Anti-Scene. It's Jeff Clayton's favorite color. And sure enough, the return address is from a certain Clayton, from a certain P.O. box in Rock Hill, South Carolina. And well, you can see by the shape and the lack of rigidity with the package, and it's, well, I would certainly hope it's not a record. If it bends like that, I think I know what it is. So we're going to very carefully and very gingerly get the 2 mile box cutter, and taking great pains not to cut anywhere near the object inside. We're going to gently slit it open. This is live unboxing, live unbagging. This is completely sealed. I do not know what's in this thing, although I got kind of an inkling. We're going to find out for sure just exactly what the H it is. And it is a shirt. Yes, it is a shirt. It's a black shirt. It's a folded up shirt. What kind of shirt is it? I mean, you see what I see. That's all I see. I see black on black. Let's unfold it a little bit and see if there's anything on this shirt. Ah, there you go. A new and already classic Anti-Scene design. Thank you, Jeff Clayton, for sending me this here shirt. This is one more shirt that I can wear to the grocery store, to the hardware store, to the post office, walking around town, just being seen. Anti-Scene. And I should mention, too, that Jeff Clayton has put one of the timeless classic Anti-Scene logos up for pre-order on a t-shirt. It is the gun with the American flag and the Anti-Scene established 1983 on it. That's one of the most popular shirts we got. And it's being made available again for a limited time only, pre-order only. If you go to Anti-Scene's Facebook page or Big Cartel store, you can get all the information you need about the t-shirt you need. All right. We got something here. Now, this is 1 package, is 2 packages. Okay. This is from my good pal, Joe Schlabotnik. Joe Schlabotnik. Some people have called him Mike Asherman, but he'll always be Joe Schlabotnik to me. And Joe is a man with, in my opinion, impeccable. When I say impeccable, I mean impeccable taste in music. He likes a lot of the same stuff I like, which is the insane, the absurd, the wacky, the wild, the wonderful, the exploitative, weird private pressings, outsider music. He's got a massive collection of this stuff, and every now and again he'll make a compilation CD of such music. So why don't we get out the 2 mile box cutter. We're working on mile number 3 here, 4 or 5 inches at a time. We're opening this up live. And yes, indeed, it's shaped like a CD. It feels like a CD. It's got about the same weight of a CD. Hey, my pal Jenny DeSoto from New Jersey is in the house. She says she just discovered Marie McCoy a brilliant R&B writer and singer. I never heard of Marie McCoy. Jenny, tell us more about Marie McCoy. Maybe post a link to some of her stuff, if you can, because I love checking out new music. Here we go. Joe Schlabotnick's Golden Throats, Volume 3 on CD. And the Pickled Portal compilation. And I see names like Kay Weaver, Donnie Brooke, ha ha ha, get it, Donnie Brooke, Jimmy Rowland, Sue Rom, William LeBlanc, Elaine Partry, Charles Clark. Yeah, I don't know who any of these people are, except for Kay Weaver. I've heard that name. She's a song poem vocalist. Very interesting. Song titles: Heaven's Escalator, Television Teasin', Irving and the Vision. I mean, already these song titles are very promising. Let's see. Here's more bands. The Reaper Girls, Tony Randall. Tony Randall doing Nature Boy. I'll bet that's a thing to hear. Smash Chords, Bob Newkirk, Sam Church Jr., Norman Mays. Yeah, very interesting. Here's an intriguing one. The Fantastics doing People Are Strange. I'm hoping that's one of those great 1960s, 1970s show bands that would tour the country playing covers. And quite often done in a very overblown Las Vegas style. So they would sing like, people are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly. You know, with a guitar and an accordion and a set of trap drums behind them. A real, unfortunately, lost art form. Joe Schlabotnick, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I will totally be sinking my ears into those CDs. And Jenny says from the 40s and the 50s, and she just posted a YouTube link from Marie McCoy. Thank you, Jenny. I'm going to check it out, and mayhap some of you people out there will check it out, because we love the thrill of discovery. Now here's a big old thick heavy mailer from, guess what? Gary Forney from Iowa. TPOS recording artist Gary Forney, who is a constant font of creativity. I have two, not one, but two brand new albums by Gary Forney coming out on TPOS. I showed you the actual printed cassette insert for one of them. A previously unknown studio album by his band Pumpkin. I released a live cassette album by Pumpkin several years ago. I love it. Well, here's some studio stuff. And as I mentioned earlier, the wheels turn slowly at TPOS, but they do turn. It took me 5 years to get this sucker out. Won't take that long to get the Pumpkin out. Promesa. But Gary has sent me some more stuff. This is a very large... now this. Now this is a very exciting project, and I'm glad Gary sent me these things. This is the kind of release that I love. That I love to consume, I love to study, and that I love to release on my label, TPOS. I'm a big fan, as you all know, of the hand-lathed record. And now Gary Forney has a brand new lathed release. And what do you know? It's on the People in a Position to Know label. I know that label. They've released a lot of cool stuff by some really awesome bands. Floating Action, Dream Sitch, this guy Michael Now. Pissy Chrissy turned me onto this label and to the artists on this label. And what do you know? Gary Forney is on that label as well. That's really cool. And yeah, that label specializes in some pretty high quality lathe cuts. Just to give it to, look at that, square white. Just a brief synopsis of what a hand-lathed record is. Each one of these things is cut by hand, one at a time, in real time, by a person sitting at a lathe cutter. They take the plastic, they cut it to size, they drill the hole, stick it on the lathe, move the cutting head on top of the plastic, play the source material so the head vibrates and cuts the music into the piece of plastic. And you have to do them one at a time. If there's a 5-minute song on the record, it takes 5 minutes to cut the music on there. And it's very labor intensive, very specialized, and very cool. So Gary, thank you very much. We're going to do a trade. Gary said he wanted some stuff on the TPOS label in exchange. Oh, wow, look at that. It's a transparent insert, which as you put the record in, becomes opaque. How cool is that? That is a concept, and I love it. Love it. Thank you, Gary. I'll be talking to you very soon about what I owe you for these records. I heard talk of some Tiny Tim albums. Yes, we might have something going on now. Of course, I got to keep one for myself. All right, and that wraps up the mail. So thank you guys for sending me stuff. The old P.O. Box is still in effect. P.O. Box 3626, Newtown, Connecticut, 06470. That mail is being forwarded to me here in North Carolina for the next several months. And then I'm going to get my own P.O. Box here in North Carolina. So it's going to get much more exciting then, as if it wasn't already. Oh, boy. Jenny DeSoto said it best about that Gary Forney record. Artistic, very artistic. We love art. So, what do you say we talk tunes? Well, the topic of this week's tune talking was spurred on by, yeah, I know, I don't even like to say the words, so I'll use my colloquial phrase, by record scam day. You people know I have some very strong opinions about RSD. And in my opinion, the S stands for scam. And it really takes an awful lot to excite me about anything happening on RSD. I'm basically over the whole thing. But wouldn't you know, even a jaundiced, jaded old cynical like myself can be stirred to excitement occasionally by a prefab corporate event such as RSD, when they announced that for RSD 2025, there was going to be the first ever release of a hitherto unknown version of the first, let me get my visuals here, the first Public Image Limited record. Now, you've heard me talk about a lot of bands and a lot of things and a lot of things, so you might know the Public Image Limited are major in my food pyramid of bands. Public Image Limited are big for me. They are one of my absolute favorite bands of all time. And so I was extremely excited to hear that they did go ahead and release the lost US version of the first Public Image album. Of course, you can see right off the bat that there are some differences. Different front cover portrait of Johnny Rotten Lydon. The backs are about the same, and the innards are about the same. But apparently this was the alternate cover they were going to use for the US market. Now, long story short, this album, the original version of Public Image, first issue, only came out overseas. It did not come out in the States because the record label, Warner Brothers, said it was too uncommercial. No one in the US was going to buy it. Well, they were wrong, because this album did huge business as an import. I remember very well going to Vibrations Records in North Miami Beach, Florida in 1980 and digging through their import bin and finding a copy of Public Image's first issue. And I bought it immediately, even though it cost $9.99, which was very expensive at the time. I plunked it down because you couldn't get it in the States. So good old Warner Brothers, being the greed mongers that they are, took note of the fact that this record was doing huge business as an import and said, well, all right, we will do a US issue of it, but you got to remix it because this original version is unlistenable. It's completely uncommercial. You need to revamp it for the US market. So the band Public Image Limited said, okay, fine. We'll revamp it. We'll remix it. And, oh, you don't want us to put the songs Religion 1 and Religion 2 on there because you're afraid that you'll offend the religious right? Okay, we'll take those songs off and we'll add another one. We'll put this song Death Disco on there, and we'll make a longer version of our song Annalisa to make up for it. Okay, sort of a compromise. So they went ahead and remixed the album and substituted the tracks, and then Warner Brothers pulled the plug on the whole project because by then Metal Box was out and released as second edition, and it was selling well enough to where they didn't see the need to do the first album anymore. That's the story I heard anyway. And so the fabled US version of the first album was talked about and known of, but never heard. Apparently the tape was lost. Supposedly the master tape was misfiled somewhere at Warner Brothers and nobody knew where it was. And well, they found it. They found it. And with all due alacrity, released it for Record Scam Day. One of the RSD releases that, in my opinion, was actually genuinely exciting. Known about this record for over 40 years, finally got a chance to hear it. So while I was traveling recently, on my way up to Danbury for the record show, stopping at all the record stores between here and there, doing some buying and selling and trading, I did indeed find the US version of it. Excitedly plunked down my dough and brought it home and listened to it and got a huge chuckle out of it. I just had to laugh a little bit because when Jah Wobble, Keith Levene, and John Lydon remixed this album for American consumption, they made it even more unlistenable. They made it even harder on the ear. They made it even more radio unfriendly. And the extra material they added to the end of Annalisa at the end of side 1 was this, what sounds to me like to be a total piss take on some kind of a hymn or something. And it goes on for like 3 or 4 minutes. Too funny. Too funny. And I really have to wonder if maybe that didn't have something to do with Warner Brothers pulling the plug on it, because it's even harsher and more eardrum pounding than the original. Pretty cool, I thought. I don't know how much I'll go back and listen to it, because I do like the original a lot, and that's always going to be the version that's stuck in my brain radio. But it's really neat to finally hear this and understand what they did, what they considered to be a US release of this album. Still one of the most uncommercial records ever released by anybody anywhere, and I love it. So that kind of begs the question, how did Public Image Limited blow it? How did they blow it? Well, it wasn't because of the first album. That wasn't it. My old compatriot Grant Den, the original guitar player for Broken Talent, says that I traded him a PiL tape and he actually saw them in the late 80s. Right on, man. Was it a good show? That's my question for you, Grant. Was PiL good live? What was your opinion? Give us a brief review. Jenny DeSoto says, I had PiL at Trash American Style, my brick and mortar record store. You better believe it. How did PiL blow it? Well, let's first talk about how they got it right. They were conceptualists. They were brilliant conceptualists. When they got together, which happened after the breakup of the Sex Pistols, so the former Johnny Rotten became John Lydon. He got Keith Levene, one of the original guitar players of The Clash, Johnny Lydon's old school pal, Jah Wobble, and a monster powerhouse drummer from Canada named Jim Walker. They got together and they formed a corporation called Public Image Limited. And their main foundation block was no rock and roll. Rock and roll is dead. We are not a rock and roll band. We are not a band. We are a corporation. and we're just going to tear everything up and start all over again. We're going to make music that is not rock and roll. Sounds pretty good to me. So that was the basic concept. Then they start releasing records. And the records were great. They were totally, once again, conceptually brilliant. Their first single, Public Image, was, if I can get it out, basically a newspaper. Pretty cool. First album, as you might have gleaned by my showing it to you, was a magazine. Second album started out life in the UK as a movie, packaged in a film can. It was later reissued under the name Second Edition, which of course is a reference to a book. The next album after that, Palais au Printemps, is a live concert. After that, you got The Flowers of Romance, which is a record album, of all things. Imagine that. And then the album that was going to come after that, Commercial Zone, was supposed to be a movie soundtrack. And then everything went completely haywire. Huge schism between Keith Levene and John Lydon. Keith Levene's thrown out. John Lydon carries on with the drummer Martin Atkins, and the rest is hysteria. So what a concept. Everything they did was a tribute to some form of media or another. Newspaper, magazine, movie, book, concert, record album, movie soundtrack. Really great. Totally great. And of course, going back to the original concept, of which Public Image Limited was a corporation, not a band. Well, what did that mean? What did that mean? They always took great pains in interviews to say that they were a corporation, not a band. But they never, ever, ever explained exactly what that meant. There are always vague allusions to, well, we're interested in video, and we're interested in computers, and we're interested in technology, and we're interested in this and that, but they never really explained why they weren't a band and what the hell they did as a corporation. I mean, if you're going to be a corporation and you're trying to sell yourself as a corporation, maybe it's a good idea to let people know exactly what your corporation specializes in. But they never did that. And they didn't do it in the way that Devo, and you knew Devo was going to come up at some point, didn't you? You know Devo was going to come up if it's Tent Talks Tunes. Devo never explained their shtick. But their shtick was so completely, perfectly developed and so multifaceted and so flawlessly executed that with enough time, enough effort, enough imagination, you could figure out exactly where they were coming from and what role they were playing and what world they lived in. PiL didn't have that. They just had a bunch of really surly, hostile jerks who made interviews as difficult as possible, usually. And they just never explained what this so-called corporation of theirs was. By the way, Jenny DeSoto says Trash saved her life when she was a teenager. Ah, Jenny, thank you so much. I'm glad we were there to help you. Having lived in Newtown for many, many years, and having been a high school student myself, glad to be of service. Very glad. Anyway, they never explained it, but after a while, after years and years and years of thinking about it myself, I think I know what they were talking about. Because, as is the case, you have to put the pieces together. You have to glean one little bit of information from this interview, one little fact from that interview, look at the product they actually put out, and figure out exactly what they were driving at, but never actually did. And I always think of the scenario of when Keith Levene and John Lydon were on The Tomorrow Show in 1981, hosted by Tom Snyder. They were the guests on an extremely popular late-night TV talk show. Now, you may remember back in the 1980s, if you were there, that, there was no internet. There really hardly was cable TV. There was certainly no satellite TV or anything. In your town, you might have had 2 or 3 channels. You probably had one channel for each of the big networks, and then a couple of UHF stations, and maybe an independent station. That was it. That was all you had. 6 at the most TV stations, no internet, no cable, no nothing. So TV is what people did. People watched TV, and popular TV shows had huge viewerships. So here you go. Public Image Limited, an extremely, determinedly uncommercial, not a band, but a corporation, whatever, cutting edge, underground group on nationwide TV, on the Tom Snyder Show, the Tomorrow Show, with an audience of probably millions. They can say anything they want. They can explain exactly what it is they do. And I just, and Tom Snyder asked them point. He said, what do? You say you're not a band, you're a corporation. Well, what do you do? And all he got in response was a bunch of mumbled nonsense and hostility and pissy remarks. Basically, Levene and Lydon made themselves look like a bunch of jerks, a bunch of idiots. And I love PiL. I love PiL. But I think that interview is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in my life. They really made themselves look like asses on that show. So my what if scenario is, well, what if? What if, when Tom Snyder said, so what do you do? What do you do in this corporation of yours? You keep saying you're not a band, but what are you? What do you do? What if John Lydon and Keith Levene had said, well, we do play music as a band, so as part of our corporate offerings, we can play music at a concert. We can also write music for you. We can produce your record. We could be backing musicians for you. We can do all kinds of great musical things with cutting-edge ideas and a love for reggae and a real interest in studio technology and recording techniques. We're on top of all this stuff. So Public Image Limited, the corporation, can be invaluable to you as performing artists, as producers, as remix engineers, as composers. We can do all of that. That's what Public Image Limited can do for you. What else can we do for you? Well, did you know? Did you know that John Lydon is our in-house graphics designer? That John Lydon not only designs album packaging, but he's also a painter. He's a very talented painter. All of our album covers are designed and executed by him. He can do the same for you. He can do your album cover. He can do a magazine cover. We, as a band, came up with the idea to package this album in a metal box. We can help you with innovative packaging. We can help you design advertising for your product, because we design all of our own ads. We can do that. We're also extremely interested in video. Now, I don't know if if the Tom Snyder interview took place before the Ritz disaster in New York City or after, but Public Image did at least make one attempt at being a video entity. So they could have said, we are able to produce videos. Here, take a look at this video that we showed or are about to show at a concert in the Ritz. We produced the whole thing ourselves. We can write it, we can script it, we can film it. So right away, you've got a whole package. We can do music, we can do production, we can do graphics, we can do design, we can do video. We can do all of this. Give us a call. Look us up. We're in the phone book. We've got offices in New York. We're a one-stop corporation for things creative. We can put it all together. The logo. Check this out. Oops, got to find the right record here. I don't know if I even have a record with the PiL. Oh, there it is. The logo. Keith Levene designed this logo. Would you like a logo design for your corporation? Talk to us. We can design a logo for you. We are on top of all this great stuff, and we are just brimming with ideas, and we want to help you with our ideas. That is what Public Image Limited, the corporation, could have said to promote themselves. Instead, they were surly, they were snide, they were arrogant. They basically got thrown off the stage. You know, I guess depending on who you asked, they either got thrown off or they stormed out. And that was basically the end of the original Public Image Limited. They kind of limped on for another couple of years, touring as a rock band. And they did attempt to work on one final album, which is going to be called Commercial Zone, which never properly came out. But man, they had free reign on an extremely popular network television talk show to explain exactly what they were doing, and what they could do as a corporation. And they just didn't. They just didn't. They blew it. And that's in addition to every other interview they ever gave in any other medium. They could have been logical, coherent, persuasive. They never were. They were just surly and snide. Now, of course, you look back at it in hindsight, and you got to realize that there were a lot of factors at play. You know, I honestly believe that John Lydon during this time in his life was probably clinically depressed. I mean, he had just been through the ringer with the Sex Pistols. You know, he'd been attacked physically, he'd been attacked verbally, he'd been attacked emotionally, like on every possible front. You know, I've heard many people say that John Lydon's actually a very sensitive guy. So imagine being a sensitive guy and, you know, an artistic guy and having to go through the experience of being public enemy number one in your home country. That's got to be pretty rough. So he comes fresh out of the Sex Pistols experience, straight into his manager trying to rip him off and steal the band's name and take the band's money and sink it into this stupid movie, which involved lawsuits. One of his best friends from school, Sid Vicious, being in a beyond toxic relationship that ended up in the deaths of both of them, Sid and Nancy. His mother dying, a long, slow death, which is documented on the song Death Disco. Meanwhile, his new band, corporation, whatever, is full of all kinds of personalities that are very strong and ultimately self-destructive. You know, Keith Levene was very well known to be on any number of hard drugs. And Jah Wobble was a difficult guy. He quit the band. Jim Walker quit the band. Keith Levene was usually lost in space. I mean, John Lydon was in a really difficult position. And as I look back at it now, I think about the answers that John Lydon gave to Tom Snyder, where he sort of went through the Public Image Limited party line. We're not a band, we're a corporation. Doo-dah. I kind of think now that he was just totally fed up with Keith Levene. Because Keith Levene was the guy who was always going on with these ideas and wild flights of fancy about PiL doing this and doing that and doing the other, but never actually doing anything. And they were in the middle of trying to record this album, Commercial Zone, which was extremely fraught by all accounts. Keith Levene, also by all accounts, was extremely difficult to deal with even in good times, let alone when he was speeding his brains out or strung out on dope. So I can just kind of imagine John Lydon having had enough of the whole thing and just not wanting to spew the party line anymore, and maybe just wanting to be a rock band again, and maybe just finally having given up on the idea of being a corporation and just not wanting to talk that talk anymore. And as the record shows, it wasn't too terribly long after that indeed he and Keith Levene made the final split. PiL became a rock band. No more talk of corporations or films or anything like that. And that's where they remain to this day. for better or worse. Now, quite honestly, I love the original concept better. I love the anti-rock and roll stance better. I think the music was better. I think the presentation was better. Although you got to admit, Public Image to this day has great looking album covers painted by John Lydon. I don't think he's done all of them, but he's done quite a few of them. The guy's a brilliant painter. And it's a facet of his talent that I don't know if has ever been really explored properly or talked about properly. But it's kind of a lingering residue of what PiL could have been. A total entertainment package. A real service corporation of which Rock and Roll Band was only one part. Just a thought. Just a rumination, just a speculation. Just me chewing the cud over one of my favorite groups ever. And that is Public Image Limited. And I see some discussion going on here. And I'm going to have to, after I sign off, jump in on the conversation because the comments are where at least half the fun is with Tent Talks Tunes. I love yapping virtually and in real life with everybody out there about music and bands. It's so much fun. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for listening to me go blah, 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 blah for the last hour. Please do not forget, the book is out. Get it directly from me. Get it from my eBay. Get it from Amazon as a Kindle or a hardcover. The Amazon softcover is on its way. Promise. And, maybe do yourselves a favor if you like wild, adventuresome music that is absolutely not rock and roll. Grab yourself an album by the original Public Image Limited and put it on and crank it real loud and turn the bass frequencies way up. I guarantee you satisfaction. I think I'm going to go do that right now. Lord willing and the creeks don't rise, I'll be back in 167 hours with yet another episode of Tent Talks Tunes. Until we meet again, this is Malcolm Tent saying so long from the Nutmeg State. Sorry guys, scratch that. Take two. This is Malcolm Tent saying so long from the Tar Heel State.